So my name is John Caines. I'm the Director of Client Success at Performance Asia, and we're a performance media optimization company. So we help you guys get your content out in front of people using search and other paid tactics. That's about as creative as it gets today on my heading, I'm afraid. But it's a good introduction to what it is, because a lot of the stuff in my world is full of acronyms and phrases that get mixed up and people don't understand what's going on. So really, it's about search engine marketing and optimization, back to marketing, and just to tie it in, the reason why the primer is on there, primer to driving discoverability. Not only is this the least creative title you've ever seen, yeah, unfortunately the whole subject is like watching paint dry. It's not the part of what you do that everyone sees. Yeah, this is all taking place behind the scenes. It's your content that's out in front of people, but behind the scenes on the websites, there's a lot of script running and there's a lot of data being gathered, and it's what you can do with that data that I'm here to talk to you about today, which is why the font's gone. Which is why paint is important. Okay, it's a quiz time. This is where I get interactive. SEO. Indeed. What is search engine optimization?
You're not going to say that much,
Okay. Fantastic, well done. Okay. What about search engine marketing? Because these two usually get mixed up. I gave it away there. Okay, but it's basically the overall science of getting content to rank well. Okay, so search engine marketing is the big picture, and SEO, search engine optimization, is just part of it. Does anyone know who PPC is? Yeah. Okay. And basically, that's where we use paid advertising to push traffic towards websites. I'll give this one over for free. Landing page optimization. You guys will need to know about this. Landing page is where you send traffic to, so your content, okay? It could be a website, it could be any website page, but we'll talk about landing pages later on. And CRO is the latest buzz. It's, I don't know, it's actually conversion rate optimization. If SEM is the big picture of SEO, then CRO is the big picture of LPO. So basically, it's making sure, and various speakers have already spoken about that, your content actually converts. There's a purpose behind putting your content out there. There has to be a goal, and you have to make it convert. Okay, very quickly, we're going to buzz through some more. SERPs. Anyone know what SERPs is? So when you search, and you get that list, that is actually SERPs. That's the search engine result pages. Okay? CPC, cost per click. Okay. That's the price you pay when someone clicks on your ad. Okay? CPM, a little bit of Latin in there for you. Cost per thousand, that's pretty much an old pricing model. So magazines used to get sold this way. When they used to sell ads in magazines, they used to go for a CPM model. So you only paid for the 1,000th ad, right? Right, so behind the scenes of a website, there are a number of things called spiders, crawlers, or bots. They're pretty much the same thing. What they do is they actually go across the internet and they just index up everything. They find all the links, all the content, and then they build a big index. And it's that index, when you're searching on a website, on the search engine, that it uses to bring up your content as a link. And the robots.txt, this is really important. When you're building a website, not all the content on that website do you want the crawler to go to. So if you're using WordPress, etc., and other content management systems, there's certain directories, might be images, you might be releasing new content, you want to check to see what it looks like online. You can do that, but you want to block the robots from seeing it. You do that with the robots file. Probably because we have got some time, we haven't got a lot of time. Is there any acronyms out there from my world that you want to shout out and I can answer? Nick?
I wouldn't know where to start. There's thousands of them.
There are thousands of them.
The key ones, right?
They're the key ones. They're the key ones. Moving on. Okay. So, going back to what I said earlier on, SEM is pretty much the science. It's making sure that you can market your content, your website, your web pages, whatever you're producing really well on the web, certainly for the search engines. Because as Nick's already said, when you're launching content, it's very difficult to get it discovered to start with. So a lot of people go down the social route, but certainly in Singapore, there's a lot of launches that take place on the radio, so a lot of the SPH channels do big promotions. You're driving along in the car or you're on the bus, you hear about that promotion, you get home and you think, what was that? What's the first thing you do? You go to a search engine and you type it in. So when you are launching, regardless of where you're launching, it's always wise to have a search campaign running in the background, and usually a bit of a paid search campaign to start with, just to make sure that your brand name is up there when people search online because they forgot. And SEO forms part of that. So that's just a good visual that you know that SEM is the big guy and the SEO forms part of that. So, my world, I tend to start the SEO at the domain name. Okay, so this is, if it's a new site you're launching or a new product you're launching, it's very good to actually get the name of that product into the domain name. So, for example, if you look at Grab, because they want people to, the taxi drivers that drive with them, they've actually come up with a domain name called Drive with Grab. Okay, so they've actually got the name of the company up in the domain name. So this is a bit dull, it's just a list of things. So basically, one of the good ideas is to use easily remembered domain names, okay? Something that people can remember, easy words. Short and easy to type is always best. And where you can, put the product, brand, or service names into the domain name, okay? Because in my world, this is called an exact domain match, okay? Now you can also do things like placing other EDM keywords in. So this might not be the name of your product, but this might be a new piece of content you're putting out there, and you're trying to stuff the keyword related to that content into the domain name. Don't do that. You have to be very careful with this. Hyphens, doesn't look very good, guys. Don't put hyphens in your domain names. And a lot of search engines, including mostly Google, regard that as a spam tactic, because you've all seen it, you know, the best office spaces in Singapore.com, okay? It's really spammy, so not a good idea. And in actual fact, in 2012, Google put some code in place. You hear of Panda, you hear of Penguin, you hear of all these sort of magical terms that Google are launching with the got it around the right way? No, EDM update actually addressed using stuffing any old keyword into the domain name that's not your brand and the hyphens. So these guys are watching it. You can't really do testing with domain names because A, you've got to purchase it to start with, and then B, you've got to launch it to find out if it's going to work or not. So really, that you need to do a lot of research beforehand just to get the right domain name. There are other problems with domain names. Does anyone know what they could be? Yeah, pretty much every single sort of English word has been registered. It's either been registered by someone before and still being used. It's registered by someone before, it's not being used, and now it's parked, and people want $10 million for it, okay? Or people have just bought them up. The other thing is social presence. It's quite tricky these days if you're launching a website to come up with a domain name that's available as a website, and then you go through to Facebook and you find out someone's got that name, and then Twitter and Instagram. So it is quite difficult sometimes to actually find the domain names that you want. So there are ways of getting around it. Really geeky now. So the bit at the end, the .com, the .sg, they're called TLDs. So that's basically the sort of the suffix on the end of the website. There are now loads of them, and in sort of movies, etc., you can have .mov, you can have .film, .youtube. There's about 12,005 TLDs. So you can play around with word combinations with the TLDs on it. And there's still some debate whether, you know, whether or not a .com is actually better than a .com-sg or a .sg. I don't tend to believe in that. If there's now 12,005 around, it can't be ranked. And as I said before, sort of the use of language and use of suffixes, etc., work well. There's another Brilliant, brilliant. Guys, go and check these guys out. On Kickstarter, this is a microwavable notebook. So you can write your notes, you can then stick it in the microwave and it deletes it because it uses a friction pen. Okay, you can see here what they've done is they've used an action word in front of their product name to come up with a domain name. But likewise, they've had a trouble getting the Twitter account signing. So you can play around with words like that. Okay, so how do you do SEO and what sort of tools can you use? This is pretty involved, so what I've tried to do is pull out little bits that would mean more to creatives and content building. Obviously the tools, I'm going to show you are very vast, it takes a number of months to learn them all. I've put some links up on the slides that will come up to show you where you can get the training. So let's just go through and see how we get on. If you've got any questions, please shout out. Okay, has anyone ever heard of Google Search Console? Hands up, how many people have heard of Google Analytics? Yeah, and keep your hands up if you've heard of Google Console. Yeah, not so many. Okay. So here it is down here. It used to be called, well it still is, Webmaster Tools. But it's really good for three things, okay? It's really good to understand how your site is being indexed on search. Not how your site's performing, that's Google Analytics. How is your site being indexed on the search engines? What's getting linked? What's the search engine finding? And what's getting the traffic? That's primarily all the console does. So here's a split screenshot. And the reason why I'm showing you this, you can see here inside Google Analytics, we can actually look at some search traffic information in search analytics. And what we're able to see, what would happen down here, this is a client's page, so I haven't shown it. The keywords will be listed down here. These are the keywords that your site or your content is already being found on. And over here, you can see how many clicks it's getting. So how many people clicked on that link through to it. Impressions, your click-through rate, and your position. And obviously what you're looking for is a high click-through rate and a high position. Okay? So it's a really good tool to find out exactly how your site is already being ranked by the search engine. I always talk about Google. There are other reliable search engines out there. Okay. Another common mistake people do when they launch content or a website is they just assume the search engine is going to find it. Now it does. They are pretty good because they're following all the links. So if there's a link coming through from an old website or something, then it will find your content, but it does take time. Everything in SEO takes time. So one of the things you can do in the menu system is click on sitemaps. If you use something like WordPress, you're probably using tools like SEO, Yoast, etc., etc. There's lots of modules you can plug in. One of them will actually generate a sitemap. So usually, if you go to your website name.com/sitemap, that's where it lives. Okay? All you do is you load it somewhere here, add test sitemap. It puts it in here, and then it starts telling you, identifies what type it is, when it was last processed. It tells you if there's any issues. That's usually if your sitemap is like a list of pages and content and images. It will tell you if it can't find any. Shows you how many have been submitted. What you're looking for is the same number on the index. That means that all the content on your site has been loaded into the search engine. Another good thing to check for is also the crawl errors. This is getting really techy now. So what you get here is a list of pages that exist, or a list of images, assets on your website that, in this case, Google cannot find. Now, unfortunately, it always puts it up as response codes. But a 404 basically means the page can't be found. You have to address this. It doesn't affect the user experience, but Google will degrade you for having content in your index that they can't get to. Over a period of time, it will degrade. So there are methods of getting around it. You can actually put, you've probably seen them before, when you go to a website and there's no page, it comes up with sometimes a default one. The best thing to do is do a customized one. And as creatives, you can benefit from this. So when someone comes to your website and it comes up with page cannot be found, click back here, use that as real estate. Okay, use that as a piece of a page that you can put your content on, or a call to action. So utilize that 404. But yeah, eliminating content that can't be found from search engines is a very good idea. And finally, going back to where I started, that robots.txt, it's just a file that you build. It's got some horrible text in it, but here you can see things like this is for a WordPress site. You can see the admin URLs have been locked off the content. This just says to the search engine, don't go there, don't index it. Okay. Again, going back to when you're doing a site launch, you want one of these because you want to see your site live, but you don't want the search engines to sit, because you don't want, if you haven't cleared it with the customer yet, the client hasn't signed off, you don't want it indexed. Sorry. And if you go to Webmaster, this link here, Webmaster Tools, there's training for this. Okay, so going back to the question, or repeating what I said earlier, why don't you just use analytics? That's the reason why. So on the left-hand side, the Google Search Console tells you how your site is performing on SERPs, on the search engines, and Google Analytics tells you how your site's performing. They are two different things, but they work together. If you know what you're looking for, we can talk about that in a minute. Okay, I'll just let you take this one. There was a really long support page URL on the Google website, so I shortened it for you. They actually have a Webmaster Training Academy where you can learn more about the Search Console. Bing also, so Bing is Microsoft's search engine, but it covers off Yahoo search as well. They had an agreement some time ago. So you can use the Webmaster tool in Bing as well to do exactly the same sort of things. A slightly different layout, but it pretty much does the same thing. I tend to only load the sitemap. I don't tend to deal with anything else. Some other SEO guys will say you need to concentrate on this, but in Singapore, I don't think anyone searches anymore anywhere in the world. Everyone Googles, right? So you're pretty safe with just Google, and pretty much all the rules that you apply for Google apply for Bing and Yahoo as well. Okay, analytics. I've given it away already, as I said. What is it for? It's to enable you to know exactly what's happening on your website. And it's quite interesting these days in the new analytics. Now, there's two versions. There's a free one, and you can pretty much use that for all your needs, and there's a paid for one. But even the free one will start introducing new things. So content is important to you guys. For me, it's about measuring sales and conversions. We get a lot of clients that come to us with a website that's already there, and they want us to do some paid search and paid display. We do paid social as well. So they want us to push traffic to a website, and they're going to give us an amount of money to do it. The problem is, a lot of websites just don't do anything. So when the traffic gets there, nothing happens. So what you're effectively doing is putting a wad of cash in your hand and setting fire to it. So what we always do is we check a website against the business goal. Okay, what is the purpose of your business? What is your business trying to do? What's the KPI of your business? It usually relates to a sale. And then let's look at the website and see if it's doing that for the business. Because if it isn't, it's a waste of time. So measuring sales and conversions, I would say, is a primary use of Google Analytics. The other one is about the audience. Okay, it's what they're doing when they're on the site. What does that audience look like? I haven't put a lot in there about this, but I will talk about it. And then, for me, like selling, understanding how you can retain that audience is crucial. Certainly for you guys when you're producing content. With this, there's the link to analytics down the bottom. Okay, a couple of insights for what you can use analytics for. I've been through some of them already. The ones in bold are probably the ones that mean a little bit more for content. So you want to know what type of web assets out there are sending traffic to your site, what type of marketing tactics you're using on third-party sites, if you're using paid search, paid display, which pages on your website are the most popular. So that includes what content on your pages, on your website is popular. And where did your converting customers come from? In analytics, what you can do is you can set up goals. So you can actually say, this person downloaded this document, this person viewed this video for X period of time. Within analytics, you can actually set up segments of people that converted and people that didn't convert. What you can do then is concentrate on the metrics for those that converted, work out why that happened, and then apply it to the ones that didn't. Google Analytics is huge. There's no way I can go through it all now. So as I said earlier, I'm going to try and pull out some key points that pertain more to content. Am I standing in your way? Okay. Okay. A bit like the console, what I've tried to do is show the sort of menu system on one side and the actual analytics page on this side. Now this isn't easy to get to. This is a custom report, and I can talk to you afterwards if you want to know how to build this. But one of the things I tend to do for clients is you can look at what pages are converting, but what I tend to do is try and break it down by other metrics as well. So I can set up analytics to tell me the hour of the day and the day of the week. And with that, I can start to see how content performs hourly and how it performs during the week. So I can then, so everyone's probably familiar with Facebook Insights. You can go in there and it tells you, this content had this many clicks, likes, and shares, and the most people were on at this particular point in time. And that's the whole thing with holistic data. What we try and do at Performance Asia is find metrics that correlate across different platforms. So if we are looking at how content performs on Facebook, we've got to measure, if we're measuring that by time of day or what the week that's happening on, we want to try and do it in analytics as well, so we can compare our content on the web page. So sessions is basically when you go onto a website, that starts a session. A session doesn't end until you leave the website or you've been inactive for something like 30 minutes. It's not a count of users, it's a count of sessions. So a user could have multiple sessions. Page views, again, this is the number of times someone has seen a page. Again, it's not unique, you can have a unique view, but this could be that one particular user within a session saw the same page 10, 16 times. Pages sessions is obviously the ratio, the number of pages during a session, and this one's pretty cool to what you're doing, the bounce rate. So this is how many times did someone exit your website, not page, but website, on that particular page. And what you can do, if you modify the script, you can actually have this as the name of the page plus the hour, okay? So you can actually customize that. And also this one here is looking at how many new sessions. So this is a good way of rejigging Google Analytics to find out exactly when your content is performing the best. Likewise, we've already spoken about it. It's not just paid search and organic search that's sending traffic to your website. It's also search engines, social media sites, and publishers, what we call publishers. So in Singapore, there's a lot of activity from Expat Choice, Sassy, Honeycombers. So it's people that have got links into your website. And what you can do with this report is actually find out how your content is being referred. It could actually be your own content. It could be your own Facebook page that's sending it in. But it could also be someone else's Facebook page that's sending it in. So here again, what I'm looking for is the number of sessions that are coming from a particular, you just see it says Facebook here. The number of sessions that's coming from a particular source. And this is where I start switching on the goal completions. So for a lot of my customers, you will have a contact form or sign up on a newsletter. You can actually put a goal against that. You can actually say when that event happens, that's a goal. And the difference between a goal, there's a goal and a goal conversion. So the goal could be that someone actually got to the contact page. I always do that. So someone got to the contact page, and the second goal is someone filled in the contact form. Because when you look at that, you can tell how many people came to the page and how many people actually signed up. And if there's a drop-off, it probably means there's something wrong with that contact form. What it usually is you're asking for everything from the name of their dog, shoe size. You just can't do that. And then obviously you can look at if there's X number of sessions coming through. and I'm only getting certain goal completions, what's my conversion rate? So that's really useful for discovering where traffic's come from to your content. Okay. Again, likewise, another way of looking at your content is these are particular pages on your site, and then here I'm looking at the number of times someone's uniquely viewed that page. This ratio here tells me how many people actually came to that page as the first page on the site. So what we also do here is do some sort of funnel analytics. We've already spoken about that, understanding where people come in, where people exit. And when you're building sites, you may have a landing page, and that's it. You just want someone to convert on that, so they fill in the form or download the PDF. But you might want to take them on a journey through a sales funnel, so you can actually have a number of sequential pages, and you're just trying to see how many of your customers go down that route. Each time you measure who converted, who actually made those steps. You also look at who didn't make those steps. And this sort of analytics tells you how to do that. Yeah, going back, this is where we specifically break down now. So earlier on, we were looking at how much traffic comes from a site. That could have been another blog, another person's website. It could also be social media. But here I'm actually specifically looking at social media. I haven't got it in this presentation deck, but when you are putting content or links to your content on your Facebook page or any other social media profile, don't just put the link to the page. Never do that. It's not easy to find out here if this visit from facebook.com was actually your site or someone else's, because it just says facebook.com. So you can come and talk to me later on. There's something called has anyone heard of UTM codes? Yeah, okay. So UTM codes is a way of putting certain data on the end of your URL to tell you where that came from. So if you were posting a link, it would actually say, it's my website, it's my page it's coming from, and you can track it that way. 5 minutes, blimey, I've got to shoot. Okay. So here's the Academy for Analytics. AdWords, that's really whipped through. So AdWords is where you start to pay to get traffic to come through to your website, okay? It's the PPC. It's probably the most cost-efficient way of getting into paid marketing because the actual training and the dashboard is free of charge, but obviously you do pay a budget. So you do have to put money into the account, and it's that money that runs that campaign. What it enables you to do, you've probably seen it at the top of the search listing, you get 5 adverts, and then you get 5 at the bottom. Does vary. You used to get adverts on the right-hand side, that's gone now. What you get there is all the local stuff, so if you've got a local page set up in Google, it tells you where you are, the map, the hours, and all that sort of stuff. The nice thing about AdWords as well is it neatly integrates with analytics. So I'm going to go really, really quickly through how you would start working with AdWords. I'm not going to show you how to set it up. It's quite a mammoth task. There's some links down here. You can use, remember we talked about finding keywords that you're actually ranking for already in the search engines? Go to Webmaster Tools and find those keywords. Start there. You can use other products like SEM Rush, and that will enable you to find other keywords that you want to build your campaign around. You guys are going to be great at this. Do the brainstorming, right? Write down all the combinations of keywords, try and make them relevant to what it is you're trying to sell. And where you can, try and find unused things. So rather than say, if you were marketing this place, co-working space, you try a combination like best office in Singapore or something. Not spammy, but try and work on different combinations that your competitors aren't using. You can also use this keyword planner, and this enables you to put in all the research that you've already found in terms of keywords, and it will come up with alternatives. You just play around with different sets of data. And once you have that, you can actually assign that to your campaigns and push paid traffic through to your content. The nice thing about it is not only are you looking for keywords to promote content you already got, but when you're doing this research, it will also surface keywords that you can probably write content for. So think of it both ways. Very quickly, on landing pages. So when you do set up a campaign, there's a link. So someone clicks on that ad, and it goes through to your website. You can send it to your homepage. I wouldn't if I were you. You could send it to your contact page. I wouldn't if I were you. Specifically, you guys want to send it to content that you've produced. So try and make that content stand out. A couple of key things. Make sure that you always put meta descriptions. This is going back to where you name the images right, have the right page titles. H1 and H2 tags, they're pretty much the sort of headings and subheadings that you've got on a page. If you need to fill those in. If you don't fill those in, you will still get ranked, but it takes a lot longer for Google to sort of give you the kudos for those keywords. Make sure your content is always engaging and emphatic. A lot of people we see with their websites, it's very business talk. It's very, this is what we do. It doesn't actually empower the user. The user just looks at it and goes, okay, I know what you do. What are you going to do for me? So try and get the message over there. It's a sell message all the time. So try and use language that engages, is friendly, is human, and actually makes the person want to interact with your page. Make sure your calls to action are clear, so whether that's a click or the video that's running. We find a lot of clients still have their calls to actions below the fold, so that means when you scroll down, it's underneath there. We tend to build a dedicated page. Most people build it within their blog. You've got menu systems, so someone goes to you and says, oh, there's an about up there, or there's a contact down there. Strip all that out. Have only your calls to action, so there's no distractions at all. Obviously, you guys know that visuals work really well. Keep your forms short, and always use your keyword research. Very quickly, always start with a search network campaign only, because we're talking about search here, right? Structure your campaign right, so actually have an account name, 2 different campaigns for different products, ad groups. Tend to structure your ad campaigns like you've structured your content. The other thing to bear in mind is you might want to split test, so you can actually have 2 versions of your content. And Google Analytics will enable you to swap those pages as people come to your site, but then also swap the ads. So have 2 different versions of the ads, 2 different versions of the landing pages, and play with combinations. If you're going to go marketing multi-region, split your campaigns. People don't all speak English, and your products are different in different countries. And finally, you can actually download a tool that helps you run this from your desktop. You don't need to go online. Okay. Last and final piece on the analytics bit, always monitor how your analytics is performing, learn from what that data tells you, and then optimize your content or optimize your ad campaigns. Very quickly, other tools to help you do some SEO. There's a sort of freemium tool called Nibbler. It will analyze your site and it will tell you what's wrong with it. If you pay for it, you can go to like Nibbler Paid, and then if you've got mega money, you can go up to the Silk Tide. There's another one called WooRank. I tend to use that one. It is paid for service, but it's very good. It just tells you how to optimize content on your site. And then alarmingly, there's a desktop product as well called Screaming Frog. But it does the same sort of things. Very quick Q&A.
Very good, mate. It's an incredibly techy subject, right?